Good morning, everybody in the LLC. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm so excited about this particular show. We have a great interview lined up. I have been trying to get attorney Dennis Spurling with us here in the LLC, and we finally did it. And we bless God for it. So, you guys, make sure as you're tuning in, hit that like button. Make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Make sure you actually go to Attorney Dennis Spurling's podcast on his YouTube channel. Show him your love and support. And without further ado, let's bring him up. How you doing, sir? Good morning. Can you hear me? Mr. Spurling? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey,
Okay. There we go.
welcome,
We were
Tommy.
frozen a
Thank
little
you.
bit.
Like, all right.
All right, cool. So I wanted to
It's
definitely
okay.
kind
We're
of, I
good.
don't,
We're good. We back. We back together.
awesome. So I'm not gonna take up all your time, I promise, because I know you have a family things to do, and I have a full lineup as well. But I am so excited to be able to just have a conversation with you and ask some questions and to get your perspective on, of course, the appeal that is now being
Right.
filed to the court regarding Carmelo Anthony's motion for a new trial. So first and foremost,
Mhm.
I just want to give a summary about what you do, who you are. Just introduce us right quick, and then we'll get into some questions and get some get your opinions on some things.
Sure, no problem. Well, as you know, as it says, my name is Dennis Spurling. I'm an attorney. I'm a father. I am I own my own law practice, and I have for about 21 years.
Okay,
And happily married. I have a beautiful wife and three handsome boys.
awesome.
And I would not necessarily politically, I would not necessarily call myself a conservative, but I can't
Hmm.
quite say I'm fully aligned with the Democrat Party. And I'm a registered Democrat, and I have been,
Hmm.
pretty much my whole life. But it's just some things, some policies I don't agree with. And,
Right.
like a lot of Americans, I think we're entitled to differ. And that's what we are able to express ourselves with our vote. And
Hmm.
what I tell people is, hey, vote your interest. I'm not in the
Yes.
business of telling adults what to do. If you ask, I'll give you my rationale. But for the most part,
Hmm.
that's where my political position is. I support the party and I support the candidates that are good for me.
Right.
But I practice personal injury law, which
Okay.
means for the most part, I don't want to get that involved with criminal cases.
Right.
I don't. I watched my dad practice criminal defense and family law for 36 years,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I had a bad taste for it. I would
Hmm.
see the evidentiary photos on the kitchen table. I
Oh.
would I would look at the files. He would bring the work home from. I would always hear about the capital murder case he had to try this week, and the one he tried last year, and the one that's coming up next year. Because your audience may not know, but I live in Texas, and specifically, I live in Houston, Texas, and this is where my dad practiced
Hmm.
law, and we have the highest capital murder rate conviction
Wow.
of all the states. And so right here in Houston, which is encompassed by Harris County,
Hmm.
um, we basically send more people to death row than any other county in America, and
Hmm.
that means more than any other place in America, any other place in the world. And
Wow.
my dad, being a black attorney, being a former city attorney, and then also a public defendant, he ended up getting assigned a lot of capital murder cases because a lot of black lawyers, a lot of black defendants wanted a black attorney, and he did a great job. But
Hmm.
the thing that the public has to understand is that when you're dealing with capital murder, a
Hmm.
win is life.
Yeah.
Okay, if you
Yeah.
able to get somebody life,
Exactly.
and the elements are met for capital murder,
Right.
that's a win. And so the public, it's hard for the public to understand that.
Right.
And so I kind of got inundated into the practice of law. I'm a lawyer. My wife's a lawyer. My
Awesome.
son is on his way to law school.
Awesome.
Um, so it's just in the blood. My great 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 grandfather, George Washington Jones
All
Sr.,
right.
a black man who was born into slavery in Mississippi, went to Russ College, ended up becoming a lawyer. He actually was a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
He voted. He was a high-ranking Republican, and he was turned out being the county attorney in Nicodemus, Kansas. So
Wow.
he had a commercial practice, and this is we're talking about 1896. I think is when he 1996, 1906 is when he passed away at about 50 years old. He and I actually have the same birthday, which is
Wow.
yeah. And I found out about him because there was a federal judge in Kansas
Uh-huh.
who looked him up. And then I found him through ancestry.com through another cousin. They said, well, we have a cousin in Texas who's an attorney also. And I'm like, wow. And I'd heard rumors through the family that
Right.
we had this famous black lawyer. And I'm like, okay, but that's just rumor. And so come to find out, this lady, this sitting uh, appellate court chief justice looked me up, sent me letters.
Mm-hmm.
They put an article about it in the Kansas Law Review, not Law Review, but Kansas Bar Journal, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just pretty cool learning about him. And it's crazy. It's like crazy. He and I have
It's
very similar
amazing.
facial features. We practice the same area law. He had white clients and black clients, and he was
Yeah.
considered one of the best attorneys in the county at that time, or in the nation, I would say at that time. Black attorneys, black or white. And I even have a closing statement, and he went over the same thing we
Wow.
go over now when we're talking to jury. So it's in my blood, It's in, but that's it. And you see my numbers on there, 866 Law Big. I had to get that number together. People, it's hard for them to remember how to. Yeah, you've been in a car accident anywhere in the nation, just give me a call. If I can't help you personally, I'll help you out. And I'm licensed in 6 different states: Louisiana, Texas, New York, Illinois, Michigan, and Arkansas. And then I'm also admitted to practice in the Supreme Court of the United States. And I have an LLM in environmental law. And what that translates to the public, so
Mm-hmm.
I have my bachelor's degree. I went
Right.
to law school. I got the JD.
Right.
And then after that, I decided, well, what if I want to teach law school? So you get an LLM, which is typically a prerequisite to teach law school. So I
Okay.
could technically teach law if I wanted to, but that would be, in my opinion, not something I would want to commit to at this point in my life, just because I have a busy family, and
I understand.
unfortunately, law professors don't get paid as much as I do in
Oh,
the
wow.
private practice. And after building the practice for 20 years, why would I give that up to?
Exactly.
Yeah, so and one, I can go on and on, but I also was inducted into the Hall of Fame for attorneys
Mm-hmm.
in 2024 at the Southern University Law Center. So the law professors and the lawyers think
Wow.
I'm an excellent lawyer. So that's a little bit about me, and I have a little small YouTube podcast.
I guess
Spurling.
we enjoy.
Check me out. Come over there and say hi.
I sure will. We're gonna give the put in the plug and make
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
everyone knows to follow
Mhm.
you at the Dennis Spurling podcast on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. Go
I'm
check.
just I'm
Yeah.
just excited to hear, the background that you have. And like I said, I've seen your videos, and oh man,
Mhm.
I gotta give you, a round of applause for your bravery in bringing up people to your platform, and then they're saying some of the crazy stuff,
Yes,
some
yes.
of the
Well,
crazy stuff. It's like, oh,
you gotta be a little crazy to deal with crazy people. So I'm like, I just told you the good stuff. I didn't tell you all the crazy stuff. Like this dude, yeah, yeah. So anyway,
oh
yeah, you
my
got.
god.
I just listen. Yes, Lord. Yes. And you say what now? Where did you hear that? Okay.
I
Praise
don't,
God.
because I'm gonna say I don't know if
Somebody
you
give
see
me
my
some
reaction.
water. Give me my water. Where's my water? I got to. You like an old grandparent sitting there
Yes,
listening
I
to
know,
this.
right?
Trying to,
Baby,
okay.
go get me my lemonade. I mean, it's gonna be a minute.
Get my teeth out. Get my teeth out the cup. I need my teeth. I got to talk to this. Who is this now? Who is this one? Oh, that's my great great grandson. Oh, okay. Come
Oh,
on.
okay.
What's your mama name? Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, huh,
Come on
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So that you gotta, I mean, you're dealing with the public, and I just
Oh my
have
goodness.
It's just humorous. Human beings are very funny people when you just sit down and
Yes.
listen to them. Yeah.
I just I realize, like, there are a lot of, people who do not take the time to understand and learn the law, learn how, these matters are heard through the courts,
Mhm.
and what the role is for the judge, the jury, the prosecutor, the defense, and then at the end of the day, it comes down to a finding of fact, law, and evidence.
Yes.
It's not to say that judges don't have empathy, that they're heartless or soulless, but you have way more people that believe somehow that the judge is supposed to lean one way or the other.
Mhm.
That's not how that works. They're an independent person in that courtroom. They're there to, interpret the law, ensure the court rules are being adhered to, and to serve as that neutral party. You
Mhm.
don't want them leaning one way or the other, because doing something like that, you get a biased judge. Now you're risking, having an appeal where they could claim that, having the judge possibly get recused. I mean, all these things that, could botch the case.
Right.
Let the wheel of law turn as it should. That way, if the defendant is found guilty, then it's because the law prevailed, that there was sufficient evidence, there was, credible testimonial evidence, that things work the way it should work. And I always tell people, my godmother is a retired federal magistrate judge.
Okay. Okay.
So I always tell people, like, I'm one where I listen, God bless both of you. I don't have the temperament to go
Mhm.
be anybody's
Mhm.
lawyer, go to law school. But she's always taught me that she who knows the law has the power. You have to be able to understand, what you're dealing with when it comes to these matters. And it's something that people need to be familiar with. People need to know the law and how, uh to even read case law so that you can understand how law is interpreted and how it is applied in other cases, so that you're not going into something just blindsided. Everything doesn't come back down to the aspect of racism. And so, having said that, I guess my first question would be, you know do you feel that there would be any significant difference if the criminal defense attorney for Carmelo Anthony was black, based on just the evidence and the finding of law?
Well, let's first start with this. Let's start with
Mhm.
the fact that if you kill somebody, you're probably going to go get punished
Going
for
to
that.
prison.
Okay,
Absolutely.
let's see. You very well spoken. You probably should have went to law school if you didn't. And you sat there and broke down. I'm like, wow, let me take some notes. This is some recusal. You start talking about recusal, the wills of justice. I'm like, but you can't talk to these people like that. You cannot. You're gonna
Yeah, no.
lose. Okay, what you have to do is say, if you kill somebody,
You
something
going to
bad's
prison?
probably gonna happen. You probably gonna go to prison if you
Yep.
do. You okay? Now the question is, are you gonna go to prison for murder or are you gonna go to prison for manslaughter? Now, a
Mhm.
black lawyer may have been able to convince a jury, all white, all black, whoever, that this
Mhm.
young man should have gone to jail for manslaughter instead of murder. And the reason I say that is because we are used to dealing with the stereotypes associated with black men and black women. And so
Mhm.
we don't necessarily run from that. If you're dealing with a person who is outside of the community, they too are subject to those stereotypes. You can't have a white doctor or a white nurse and then they not say, okay.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about you all because I've watched Instagram. I've seen you on Instagram. You all are superstars on Instagram. And so, I mean, we put the material up there, whether the
Yeah.
algorithm carries it or not, it's there for a reason. But the
Right.
bottom line is people are not subject to, they're not going to run away from their strongly held beliefs just because they put a uniform on, be it a medical doctor uniform or a judge uniform, or if they're impaneled as a jury.
Right.
So, if you deal with a black lawyer, that's something that they understand, and you don't have to explain that to your black attorney. Now, I'm talking about a black attorney who is black, black. In other words, they had a ghetto relative and some ghetto upbringing and some country people, and they know us very well, and they know who they're dealing with. So they're inundated in the culture. If you have someone who comes from, let's say, I don't know, what's that place that what's the rapper Lala or Lafayette? I don't know what the name is. But she's from Madagascar. Let's say you have a
Oh,
black
okay.
person from Madagascar, and they are
Uh,
black on paper. They are black. Look at them. They are black. It says
mhm.
African American because they are literally from Africa and they live in America. So they're American. They might not understand the culture that we're dealing with. They don't
Okay.
understand people's perception of you. And part of being a good attorney is being able to empathize with people in the sense that you can put yourself in their mind. I read that in a book by
Okay.
Jerry Spence, who's a famous trial lawyer. He had this place where lawyers would come from all around the country. I believe it was called Thunder Mountain or something like that. They would take your cell phones, or if you wanted to use a cell phone, you had to walk to the top of a mountain to use your
Hmm.
cell phone, and you were there for like 2 weeks. But Jerry Spence said that a
Hmm.
lawyer that does it, that only knows the law, is limited. You need to understand history, sociology, etc. And so I made it a point to study broader than just what the law book had to say. I study
Right.
people. Number one, that's the best thing to do, because you see
Yep.
how people are. I pay attention to what's going on social media. In
Yep.
addition to that, I read a various amount of books. But bottom line is, if you're a black attorney, you have a better understanding of how the jury and the public at large perceives your client than a white
Hmm.
attorney might. So you may be able to argue some things away, because you have to address that. Ladies
Right.
and gentlemen, I understand you see a young black male here who has been charged with murder. There's a
Right.
dead body. We have 21 witnesses saying he did it.
Hmm.
We have video footage. On top of that, you have a confession. But what you also have is a young man who's a 4.0 student, captain of the football team, being recruited. He had no intention of going there with that. Yes, he's had some issues before at this community, at this school, in this neighborhood. He's from Baton Rouge originally. This is a
Hmm.
culture shock to him, but he still managed to do well. He had no intention of killing Austin Metcalf on that day. That was not something he planned to do. He had the knife with him for protection, but you got to understand there's 90% white and non black people. He's a small 10%. And so yeah, he did it, but this is not murder. This is manslaughter. He didn't intend to do it. And in other words, you showing that this is an exception
Okay.
to the stereotype. And a black lawyer would know that this is something that he had to drive the point home. Yeah, he deserves to be punished. We agree with that. But should it be murder? No, it should be manslaughter. That's what it. Now look, I don't know if it worked.
Right. I mean,
Look,
it's just
you see what I'm saying? But
yeah, give it
but
a
but
try.
at least the black attorney would know to address that, because they would know the backstory without you having to explain it. And that's why I tell people all the time, um, one of the worst things you can do is just write off your black attorneys, especially when
Hmm.
it comes to criminal defense, because hell, they typically don't get the jobs working at the big white law firms. They got to hang that shingle up and get right out there fresh out of law school. I
Yeah.
was fortunate in that when I went to Tulane, and I had a perfect score on the bar examination. I went to Tulane. I got an LLM. So it
Hmm.
was people, and I worked cheap. You see, that's another thing. I got hooked up with the small law firm in New Orleans, run by Jewish people, and they was like, this guy's he's hardworking.
Hmm.
He comes cheap. They hired me literally as a legal secretary for $10 an hour, and I said
Wow.
I'll take that job. I
Wow.
I'd tell you the backstory. I was hungry. I went to Tulane.
No,
I didn't have a job, okay? And I was hungry, and I left Baton Rouge,
do what you got to
and
do.
I had two jobs in Baton Rouge. I was working at the airport bringing the planes. You know the dude to bring the
Yeah,
planes in? That
on
was
the
me.
ground
And then I
control.
run over and get the luggage. Yeah, I was that dude. And then I had a graduate assistantship working at the one of the environmental grad scholarship programs at Southern University. So I had two jobs. But when I got to Tulane, I had no job. I was like, I'm hungry down here, man. So this back when gas was cheap. So I had one. I remember one time I had $5. I was like, either I could put some gas in my car,
Right.
okay, no AC and a bullet
Oh.
hole in the back of the car, right? But I'm like, I bought it like that. But either way, I'm like, well, I guess I better get on to school. So I put the gas in the car and I just ate there. I would steal the white people's candy. They had a meetings afterward. In
Yeah.
there with trust funds. I mean, is that a Milky Way? Let me get that milk. I get a handful, go home and study. But I finished that whole program. It usually takes 2 years. I finished the LLM program in 1 year. But the bottom line is,
Awesome.
I had applied to work at Labor Ready. Labor Ready is a company that hires blue collar workers. I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I don't care what I'm doing. It's always been me. My
Hmm.
grandmother's from Mississippi. My mama picked cotton till she was 14. My grandma
Wow.
picked cotton her whole life. So, all I have ever done is
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
Anybody that would tell you I'm probably the hardest working person you ever meet. I got 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs because I never wanted to be hungry and I always wanted to take care of my family. So I never let
Absolutely.
anything take me off of my ability to earn. No matter
Okay.
what it is, I'm always going to work. It was a hurricane, I'm working. Okay. I
Yep.
remember one time my office flooded, the flood water was there. I was in, I pulled my socks up and went back to my office working, and the water was like a foot high. And so they like
Wow.
this dude, this you can't beat this dude. This dude is gonna outwork everybody. Whether we're talking about, I used to wash my Uncle Slim's Cadillacs. All his homeboys would come over and gamble. They be gambling. Nephew, get in there, damn Cadillac. I would wash their cars for five. I'm talking long cars. I'm not talking
The
about these
deuces quarter.
Elon Musk. I'm talking about Brohams. You know what I'm saying? Wrapping around the block, baby.
Pulling down the
$5. I'm
handle.
in. The other kids out there gang banging and selling dope and selling weed. I'm hustling $5, man. And then
Yeah.
I would go up to the grocery store, I bag old people's groceries. I was always about my money. I don't know how
Yep.
that happened. When I was young, my favorite cartoon was Scrooge McDuck. He used to iron his money. I
Oh
used to
yeah.
iron my money too. You understand me? I want my money. I will work hard for the money. So these good Jewish people felt we gonna work this dude. They working.
Hey
$10
me.
an hour. Yeah, so they hired me as a legal secretary for $10 an hour. First thing they did was said, okay, we have a Supreme Court brief for you to draft and research. That
Woo.
don't sound like legal secretary work too, but anyway, give it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wrote that brief, earned them about $530,000, and then they said, well, look, we gonna get you, we need you over here. You
Oh, the
work
on the
cheap.
staff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I worked for them. I went did a clerkship and worked. That's why I did all the
Absolutely.
jail mail. This is when I decided I really didn't want to do. I was
Right.
working for this black man named Judge Wilford Carter, and I would see bodies
Mm,
coming in and out the court. And
mm,
and I have a disdain for the criminal practice of law, but I remember we like to waive a formal reading of the bill of information, enter into a plea of not guilty, and request a trial by jury. I must have heard that a thousand times a month because
wow.
you just got bodies coming in and out. The criminal
Yep.
justice system is a system. You see,
Yes.
it is an animal
Yep.
that needs to be fed, and you will feed it. And if you
Yeah.
do stuff like stab people,
Yeah.
okay, for
You
pushing
do.
you, you're going to go to prison. Whether
Yeah.
whatever, especially if you down around Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, South Carolina, we will put you in prison. This is not New York, and I'm be honest with you,
Yeah.
and this may sound controversial. Okay, this
Okay.
may sound and I don't want to offend anybody listening.
Okay.
I don't want to be on the streets with people who kill people.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't
Me
want to be
either.
on the streets with people who rob people and who jack people.
Me
I
either.
don't want to be on the streets with people who can't control themselves.
Me either.
Okay. I want them to be in prison. You understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because
Absolutely.
as I went over that whole long soliloquy about how hard I work,
Mm-hmm.
I worked,
Yeah.
okay, and I started off making little or nothing, and I don't want somebody taking my life for something that I work for. So I want
Oh,
them to go to
exactly.
prison. That's
Yep.
unfortunate to say, and it does
Yep.
not matter what color they are. So I
Exactly.
stand for two positions. Number one, if you hurt somebody, you're gonna be punished. If you kill somebody, you're gonna be punished. You steal their things, you're gonna be punished. Doesn't matter what color they are, because
Exactly.
to live in a civilized society, we have to have rules and regulations.
That's right.
Okay, and see
Right.
now I get what people say. Well, they don't apply evenly across the board. For the most part, if you do a crime, you're gonna go to prison.
You're
If you
gonna go
do,
to prison.
you're
Yeah.
gonna go. And I'm happy they're going because I don't want them or my children
That's
to
right.
have to deal with that. So let's
That's
start
right.
with that common sense standpoint. Now, you
Yes.
brought a different point, and you said, and we talked a little bit about the Carmelo Anthony trial. Here's the thing, and I wrote this in my books, Rules to Live By, and the
Mm-hmm.
second chapter. And I just the things I learned. There was a young lawyer. He took an appeal and he forgot to file the uh, motion for new trial. And
Okay.
so because he failed to file a motion for new trial, he lost certain rights.
Right.
He couldn't then come back and say, well, you didn't preserve those because you didn't file a new trial. So filing a motion for new trial is just kind of perfunctory, if you will.
Yeah.
It's going to be denied.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason it's the
Yeah.
first thing they file is because they have to file that. And then that also extends the time period. So now you have 30
Yes.
days from the date the new trial was filed. So that gives you a little bit more time.
Right.
It's denied. And then you have sometimes some days it's within 7 days of the ruling or 10 days, whatever. And then you take the appeal from there. And then you may ask for an extension with the appellate
Mhm.
court. And so that's just performance. Yeah, it's gonna be denied. The young man's going to prison. He's gonna go
Yeah,
to prison. He's
exactly.
in prison.
Yep.
No matter what the people say, there's still
Right.
a another young man, a
In
boy, a
Los
child, because Austin Metcalf was a child.
Angeles. Yep.
Okay, and I get that Carmelo Anthony was out, but he was two children, and a
Yep.
child is dead. You
That's
see,
right.
and we don't want that here in society in whole in general, but especially in the state of Texas, we don't allow our children to be killed at track meets without
Exactly.
somebody being punished. You understand what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
and the other thing is, and I'm gonna tell you something else is coming down the line. These parents are gonna be getting held responsible for their children's actions.
Exactly.
See,
That shit always happen.
yeah, you start suing the parents
Yeah.
for your bad, reckless, out of. And I'm not saying anything about Carmelo Anthony because I know we love him, right? We love him in the black community right now. We love
We
him.
love all our kids.
We,
I love all
yeah,
kids.
yeah. But the bottom line is the young man had some emotional issues, and if he didn't explode on this white child, he would have exploded on another black child or a black man at some point.
Yeah.
We have an issue with that in the black community. We got a lot of out of control children, be they black men and black women, but the
That's
black
right.
men seem to cause the most damage because they're men. They're strong.
Yeah.
We have that masculine male nature
Yeah.
of hunter. You know, and
Right.
so it's a problem. And if you don't take care of it, the government will. The
Exactly.
criminal justice system will. I know I ramble.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry,
you're good. No, you're
but
fine. Because I'm glad you're
yeah.
speaking on that because I was gonna, have you speak on, having to teach young black men. I have two young black sons,
Okay.
and I've had to talk to them about how to interact with law enforcement,
Yes.
how
Yes.
to interact with, other kids in school when you're dealing with, kids that are even bullying or just
Hmm.
being hostile. Sometimes you have to learn how to walk away, pick
Yeah.
your battles. Don't sit and, my even my godmother taught me everything doesn't warrant a verbal response.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes the loudest response is the quiet one where you don't say anything at all, and you have to learn how to maintain self-control. The one thing that people are so in an uproar about with my commentary, because I said flat out, if the evidence and the facts of this case led to him being held guilty, then that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And he's going to prison. He's going to be there for 35 years. The chances of him getting an appeal is like less than 1% at this point. I mean, I'm not saying miracles don't happen, but I said it's just overwhelming evidence. You had too many credible witnesses. You're basically, asking for the court to just let him free because he's black. That's not how our justice system should
Mm-mm.
ever operate. You don't want it to be based on race because when it is, the other way around, then we definitely will decry racism. They, think about this young man Nolan. What's his name? Nolan Meeks Wheels or something.
Hmm.
Wells. Nolan Well, and he's out voting with three, young white kids, and he comes up missing and dead, and he was the only black kid. So I always tell the Lady Luck Club, if the shoe is on the other foot, which now we have an example of that being on the other foot, you want the judge to be neutral and impartial. You want your jury to be neutral and impartial. You want the facts, the evidence of the case, to come forth. You don't want a tainted jury selection. You don't want to introduce all of this bias. You want to just let the law prevail the way it should. And that
Hmm.
way it prevails on both sides. It's
Right.
not, you pulling and being biased and you wanting, well, the judge shouldn't, let him get locked up for 35 years and blah blah blah. But that's what they were presented with the jury. They went with murder. The requirements of the requisites for murder were met,
Yeah.
and they decided to rule on give that ruling for murder as opposed to the manslaughter, because all the laws, all the charges have these prerequisites. This is how I had to break it down to the
Yeah.
LLC. They have these prerequisites and requirements you have to meet, and once they've been met and satisfied, the jury then is given that option, and they chose to go with murder, and they decided on 35 years. He could have gotten life, but look at God. Like, he got 35 years. And I
Right.
don't personally, I just don't think it was long enough. I think they should have stuck to the letter of the law because, as I always say, when the shoe's on the other foot now, do we, sit back and say, oh, okay, so if these three young white men hypothetically get arrested and they're charged and found guilty, would we all be cool with them getting 35 years? You
Mm-hmm.
know, especially if they did something very heinous and had a hand or role in the death of Nolan Wells. Are we going
Mm-hmm.
to sit back and be cool with these kids getting 35 years? When it's on the other foot now, we can't decry. We'll lock up the three white boys for a lifetime, but not Carmelo Anthony. Murder is murder. And
Yeah.
and that's how it should be. Murder is murder. So
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, please finish. I was just going
Yeah.
to explain that it's when you actually look at the murder statute,
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy to understand. Under Texas
Yeah.
Penal Code Section 1902, murder it doesn't only mean a person planned to kill somebody. Okay, it could have
Right.
happened like it happened in the stands. A person commits murder if he intentionally or
Right.
knowingly causes another person's death. All
Exactly.
right, but okay, and then it says, but a person commits also commits murder if he intends to cause serious bodily injury
Yep.
and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes death. So at the point
Right.
where Carmelo Anthony said, "Hey, touch me and see what happens," because this is
Thank you.
what the jury testified to, and
Yep.
then he took that knife and plunged it into the chest of Austin Metcalf into the left ventricle of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
is something that is clearly meant to cause dangerous is dangerous to human life to put a knife in a person's chest, right?
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if that
Absolutely.
person dies, then
Yep.
that is murder by definition. So now that
Exactly.
answer, we have an answer to it. This is a murder.
Yep.
Okay, this is a murder,
Yep.
and even if he didn't intend to kill him, he clearly intended to cause him serious bodily injury. By contrast, he didn't
Exactly.
stab him in his foot. You
Exactly.
understand? He
Exactly.
didn't
You didn't
he didn't
incapacitate
he
him to defend.
right he didn't so where we at? Okay, and again, the
Yeah.
state didn't have to prove that Carmelo woke up that morning and planned to kill Austin Metcalf or anybody in
Exactly.
particular. That the state could have argued that once Carmelo pulled a knife and he
Yep.
used it during the
Yep.
confrontation, he either knowingly caused the death or intended to cause serious bodily injury
Yep.
through an act clearly dangerous to human life, and that is plunging that knife into that young boy's heart. Okay,
Yep.
and again, a knife to the chest is going to be treated as an act clearly dangerous to human life. And then
Exactly.
Austin died, and so now you got what the jury found was murder. So them
Yep.
finding murder was accurate.
Yep.
Now again, the jury had evidence
Mm-hmm.
that led to that. And so the appellate court is the first question they're going to ask is, was the jury's verdict rational? In other words,
Right.
are there facts? Was there evidence? Was there testimony to get them from point A to point B? Was there testimony to get them from innocent to murder? Yeah, well, we had 21 people who saw it.
Yep.
We have what is tantamount to an excited utterance said, "Hey, I'm not a suspect. I did it." We have we have a videotape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here's another thing. Here's the killer. Here's the killer. We got a dead body with a knife in it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, and we know the knife belonged to Carmelo Anthony, and we saw the people. The people said they saw him plunging in his chest, and on top of that, the
Right.
the expert medical testimony said that it entered into his heart. So
Right.
my question is, yeah, the jury had the evidence they need. A rational jury could come to the conclusion that this was murder. And an
Right.
appellate court is not going to just overturn a rational jury's basis. Now, let's say,
Exactly.
for instance, let's say this. Let's say Carmelo Anthony wasn't there. Let's say Carmelo Anthony, he wasn't in,
Mm-hmm.
he got convicted of murder, but come to find out he was in uh, uh, I don't know. Let's say he was in Seattle, Washington on that
Mm-hmm.
day and time, and the
Mm-hmm.
jury still convicted him of murder. Well, then a rational jury couldn't come up with the fact that this man
Exactly.
was there. This is y'all got the wrong one. We know
Yeah.
y'all
Exactly.
say they all look alike, but this is the wrong one. We got a
Right.
plane ticket saying he was in Seattle visiting his third cousin on his mama's.
Right.
Okay, so that would be a grounds to overturn it in a new trial or maybe dismiss it.
Right.
That's how that works. But a rational jury could go from your knife, your admission, your body. 21 witnesses saw you did it. Videotapes, so we kind of saw the mechanism of how it happened. A dead a boy and a murder weapon.
Exactly.
So a jury, you telling me a
Straightforward.
jury is gonna overturn that? Now, again,
Yeah.
this is where the manslaughter comes in because manslaughter was a possible lesser included option.
Hmm.
Possible, not
Hmm.
definitive. It's
Right.
within the range. You got murder and manslaughter within the range. All right.
Right.
Now, capital murder would have been overcharged. That's out of the range because it was premeditated. It's not like he got his. He is not like he said, "Touch me and see what happened," and then he went to his car or whatever and retrieved the knife, or went to the cafeteria and retrieved, then came back and stabbed. That would have been capital murder. Okay,
Right.
in this circumstance. But that's not it. But so if you look at manslaughter as a possible lesser included charge. Under the
Hmm.
Texas Penal Code, Section 19.04, manslaughter means reckless
Hmm.
causing another person's death.
Right.
That's where the injury could have said, or the jury could have said, he didn't mean to kill him. Okay, he acted recklessly. He pulled a knife in a stupid, emotional, chaotic moment, and the kid died. So let's say, for instance, Carmelo Anthony, he pulled a knife, and instead of stabbing him in the chest, he stabbed him in the ankle. All
Right.
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 And his ankle got infected and he died from septum or something like that.
Right.
He didn't intend to kill him. He intended to debilitate him, but he
Yeah.
didn't try to kill him. That's manslaughter.
Right.
Or you done got your stupid butt out there drinking, hanging out at the brunch on Sunday.
Right.
Okay, you didn't had too much mimosa and you
Right.
riding down the freeway and you pull off the
Hmm.
freeway and you hit some homeless man who's on the side of the road. That's probably manslaughter. You didn't mean to do it, but look at your act. It was reckless what you did.
Reckless. That's right.
You see, so that's the difference. But in this situation, it could have been included. You could have said, "Oh well, you know, the jury could have said, well, it's manslaughter. Was it reckless? Seemed like he intentionally tried to hit him in the chest to me, and that's why the jury said,
Hmm.
nah, he intentionally tried to cause serious bodily harm. This wasn't just reckless. This was straight up
Yeah.
intention. It's the difference between using your car to purposely run over somebody and accidentally running over somebody,
Right.
because you're drunk. And,
Right.
and and that's loose. And I know there are people who gonna argue with me. And Fayed, I know we're talking to the public. We need
I
simple.
get that too.
This is not second year law school. We're not talking about criminal procedure. We're not doing
Right.
that. Okay, we are speaking to the public. Okay, all you lawyers, jailhouse lawyers, and JDs. There's a lot of JDs out there that didn't actually pass the bar. Were sending me
Right.
critiques. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now as far as
YouTube
self,
attorneys.
yeah, you're right. And as far as self-defense, in order for Carmelo Anthony to have a valid self-defense, yeah, he would have had to get up on the stands.
Yeah.
You would Carmelo, he didn't take the stand. And
Right.
to be clear, he didn't have to. All right, defendant, he can raise his self-defense without testifying to stand. His lawyers could use witness testimony and physical evidence, and they
Hmm.
say, well, this dude was 7'2", and Carmelo Anthony was only 5'1.5", 97 pounds, right?
Right.
I know that's a bit of an exaggeration.
Right.
They would have you believe that this boy did not play free safety for his school, that he was not in the hunt for a Division I scholarship. Like you
Hmm.
telling me that this free safety, and we've seen, the little you see the jury was there. They could look at him and say, nah, them boys don't look that much different. If that's his twin brother and that's the
Yeah.
alleged, they don't look that different in size to me. I mean, I'm
Right.
saying
Yeah.
175, 11, 170 pounds is not that big of a difference between 6'1" and 210. They both medium sized men to me.
Right.
That's
Right.
the same range. I'm 6'4", so when I see 6'11" and 5, y'all all the same height. Y'all need to
Yeah.
wash
Yeah.
my car.
Big babies.
Anybody under
Oh,
6'2"
y'all
is
can watch
supposed to
my
wash
car.
my car. Okay, I'm all you short men out there. Let me tell you, y'all job is to wash my car and cut my grass. You beneath me. Okay, you beneath me. I'm
Y'all
just
just
saying.
not peasants.
Yeah, you're not even, you ain't you're height challenged. I tell my sons that all the time. I say none of you, maybe the baby, but the other two, they some handsome, y'all call them petite. I put y'all petite young men, y'all petite black men. Y'all, but this big one, the baby boy, he might end up being 6'8" or 6'9". We're gonna get an NBA contract out of him. I'm gonna be
Oh my
courtside.
good
I'm gonna be
Lord.
courtside with him. I'm gonna be in front. I did it. It was all me. I did it. I set this whole thing up. Me, I saw the potential. I'm the coach. I'm the one.
I'm the
Okay?
business manager.
I
I'm
did it. I put it
all of
all
that.
together. Yeah. But BS aside, so Carmelo Anthony, he could have
Yeah.
talked about the size difference, the physical evidence, and the
Uh-huh.
fact that he was sitting down there minding his business. Great. But he wasn't just minding his business, he was talking stuff. We
Right.
have to agree with that. They were doing what teenage boys do. Your team is ass, okay? And you're not under the people's tent being quiet.
Exactly. And that's what
You
kind
over,
of
yeah, you over there
caught up.
talking reckless. And,
Yeah.
and but again, okay, I get it. You were protecting yourself, and he put hands on you first, and he was a little bigger than you, and he stood over you, and you it seemed like you were surrounded. But at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, when we start talking about self-defense, is we have to deal with at the moment that it happened. Okay,
Right.
at the moment. I'm not talking about the poop talking. I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
fact that he was
The,
under the tent unwanted or didn't have permit. At the
right.
moment, was your life in danger? At the moment, would a reasonable person believe just because somebody put their hands on you in a form of a push that you were about to die? Okay. That's the only question. It's that 1 second, split second decision.
Exactly.
And that's where self-defense starts out. Now we're gonna look at the
Right.
totality of the circumstances. But at that moment, did Austin Metcalf have a gun? Did he have a knife? Did he have a baseball bat? Were there 4 or 5 people? Were there 4 or 5 people pushing you? Were three
Exactly.
or four people kicking? Were you on the ground? Were you surrounded? Were you somewhere you couldn't escape? These are the things that the jury, at that moment, Austin Metcalf was not putting Carmelo Anthony in such serious bodily injury or fear of death that he needed to pull out a weapon or introduce a
Exactly.
dangerous weapon
Not at all.
into that situation. And
Exactly.
that's what the jury see. Look, don't get mad at Dennis Spurling. All I'm doing is telling you what the jury said. Y'all can call me Boule,
They can
Coon,
call
forget
me
the name.
whatever. I've been
Let's get
called all
all the
kinds
names
of
there.
names, child.
Boule,
I don't
Coon,
care.
House Negro, all of that fell out. I'm just telling you what the jury said. Okay, this is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain to you. This is what the jury is doing. If you don't want your son or daughter to go to prison for 35 years, make sure they don't do what Carmelo Anthony did.
Anthony
You need
did.
to tell your kids
Exactly.
to calm down. That's
That's
all
right.
I'm doing. You can be
That's right.
mad. See that you don't get mad at the messenger. I'm telling you that these folks said we don't believe that he was in danger.
Yeah.
That's it. At the moment that
I
this
don't either.
situation happened, we don't believe he was dead. We think we think he was overreacted. That's what we think.
We
And
definitely.
so but
Yep.
again, in order to even have a chance of self-defense, realistically, he would have had to take the stance. And see the thing, Lady Luck, the problem is if Carmelo Anthony, 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony, took the stand and started testifying. And then he, under a withering cross-examination, he broke down and cried and admitted and started saying stuff like, he might have got 99 years.
Yeah.
And then
Because he
think
can't
about
control
that.
his simple in his mouth.
Yeah. He already he might have got 99 years instead of 35 years. When he gets in TDC with the mother, at least you got a date, young brother. I'm gonna be in here for 250 years. At least you have a date. At
Mm-hmm.
least you have a date, and you might become well. You at least you might become eligible for parole after probation or parole after 17 and a half years. You might get out of here alive. We're gonna die in here. You see that you see that cemetery in the backyard for the that's where they're gonna put. That's where my body's gonna end up. By the time I get out of here,
Mm-hmm.
my mama's gonna be dead. My father's gonna be dead. My brothers and sisters are gonna have great grandchildren and grandchildren. I'm never gonna get out of here. So he
Right.
got off lucky. And I know that's hard for the public to understand, but remember when I start off with that long-winded story early with my
Yeah.
dad, and I said that in the legal system,
Yep.
capital murder, a win is getting life.
Yep.
In a case like this
Absolutely.
where you've murdered somebody in cold blood, a win is getting anything less than 99 years, which will allow you to get out at a certain. This boy's gonna get out at 35, 40 years old. He still go have a family and live another 40 years. Austin Metcalf is dead forever.
That's right.
You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? And people need to recognize that you cannot treat human life like it's that dispensable because somebody hurt you. Somebody hurt your feelings, so you kill them. Where they
Yeah.
do that at,
Oh,
Lady
is
Luck?
that a
Where do
track
they do
field?
that?
No,
Yeah,
it not in no track field whatsoever. The danger you put other kids' lives in.
yeah.
And I was gonna ask you about that because I pulled up the law regarding having a weapon on
Oh,
school property.
right.
Was there a chance that they couldn't have considered that, him acting in how do you put it, while carrying out another, not saying he was carrying out another felony, but
Uh-huh. I
you're
know just
already breaking the law. You brought the knife to school grounds, and
mm-hmm.
then you utilized the knife, to commit murder. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
do you think they would have added on any additional time if that charge would have been presented?
So there was another case, Kasem, I forget the young man's name. Kasem, he's a little white guy, little white fella. And
Mm-hmm.
his name was Carson Allison.
Okay.
Carson Allison. And this is a case where a young white man was convicted of 10 years and he's basically getting about 10 years in prison. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this particular situation, um, let me see how the facts were in that case. So this happened a couple years back, and he stabbed somebody in a bathroom and they died. And it
Mm-hmm.
happened on campus. Okay. So
Okay.
Kaysen Allison, that's his name. So Kaysen ended up getting 10 years in prison. Now, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The jury didn't convict him of murder. They didn't convict him of manslaughter. I believe the jury convicted him of reckless. Let me see. I think it's reckless use of a weapon or something like that. And let me
Mm-hmm.
see if I can try to jog my memory here.
Okay.
Reckless use of a dangerous weapon. And so the judge said, well, this was committed in a criminal negligent homicide, and that's under Texas Penal Code
Okay.
subsection 19.05, and that's when a criminally negligent homicide. Oh, I'm sorry, criminally negligent homicide means a person uses the causes the death of another by criminal negligence.
Okay.
Okay, criminal negligence is different
Mm-hmm.
from recklessness.
Right.
Recklessness means a person was aware of the risk and consciously disregarded it. Criminal negligence means the person should have been aware of the risk but failed to perceive it. And
Right.
so that was the middle ground. In that case, Allison killed Joe Ramirez. Joe Ramirez was another young man in his high school. And
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, the judge, the top penalty for that is like a year, 2 years, something like
Wow.
that. And the judge looked at that and said, no, I'm not in Texas. You're not going to drop a body in a high school here in Texas and not go to jail. So the judge enhanced
Yeah.
the charge by 8 years because he used a dangerous weapon, i.e. a knife, to do it.
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
so it was an enhancement because a dangerous weapon was used. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying is, in Carmelo Anthony's case, let's say they did hit him with a manslaughter charge, right?
Okay.
Judge could have still threw on another 8 years on top of that, so he still would have done 20. You see what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. Gotcha.
So he was going to prison. All
Yeah.
right, that's what I
Absolutely.
need you all. He was going to go to prison,
Okay.
and there's nothing that anybody can say, all
Right.
right, that would have stopped him from going to prison. All right,
Yeah.
in the great state of Texas, if you kill somebody, if a child kills another child, we're gonna do our best to put you in prison. Stay in California, stay in
Yeah.
New York. Y'all stay out there where you are. And this is why I moved from California. I wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could, about 1 year old. And I traveled back and forth, and I realized that I like
Mm-hmm.
living down here better. So that would have been an enhancement
Okay.
on use. So he was going to prison. I don't
Yeah.
know what
Absolutely.
yeah. No, but
Absolutely. I just, and that's one of the things that I know I brought up the last live. I talked about that and said,
mhm,
let's say that the um Metcalf boys wanted to call the police,
mhm,
because I got a lot of comments about that. Why didn't they just call the police and have, Carmelo Anthony move? And I was like, well, he's 17 years old. He can walk. Why he just can't get
mhm,
up and move? Like
mhm,
they asked him, several times to get up and, this tender's reserved, we're saving this for our team and whatever. He
mhm.
could have just got up and moved over one bleacher. I mean,
Yeah.
he's scared of rain. Like, you can't make this up. But then the moment he stabs, Austin Metcalf, now he knows how to run and leave. Like, that unbelievable to me. You weren't too petrified to where you, at the very least, you did, and you realize, oh crap, and then you trying to help, or you call 911. No, 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 no. You get up and run away and dish the weapon. So, I always tell the LLC, a lot of that speaks to the intent. He had in that moment, the mindset to do these things that he did. And it's hard to say all of these things lead up to an accident, or he didn't do it on purpose. But once he pulled that knife out of his backpack, he already planned on having that, the intent part fulfilled, because you're not going to just pull a knife out of your backpack if you don't plan on using it. So you're already at a school, on school property, where you should not have it in the first place. So if they would have called the police, guess what? He still would have went to jail for having the knife.
Right,
So
right.
I told them that. I was like,
Yep.
he's still facing jail. So
Yep.
he would have been removed from the campus. He would have been locked up because he broke the law when he brought that knife to school grounds.
You're exactly right. You're exactly
So
right.
I was like, well, why should they have to do these things? Like, and I teach my kids this self entitlement these young kids have nowadays is something else. I said I had to work starting at age 14, and my dad took care of me. God bless my grandmama, both of them. May they rest in peace. Helped raise, took care of me. My godmothers, were there. My godmother, who retired as federal judge, to help take care of me, and ironically went to Southern.
Oh, what? Okay, all right.
She ironically went to Southern.
That's what's
So,
up. That's you, man.
yeah.
That's you. But
So,
I wanna drive home a point, because I want people to
yeah.
understand something. And we talk about this knife. That
Mhm.
ISD, the Frisco ISD, prohibits
Mhm.
the carrying of a knife by a student. Okay,
Right.
that's it. The knife in itself outside that school property was not an illegal knife. In other words, it fit within the length
Mhm.
and type allowed generally in the state of Texas. But
Mhm.
a school campus has a different set of regulations. There's some old cases from back in the day which say you don't have the same freedoms in a penitentiary or in a governmental facility or a schoolyard than you would have in the rest of America. They can limit that. So
Right.
people confuse the fact with that the knife itself was illegal to carry with the knife itself, whether legal or not, was illegal for a child to carry on a school campus.
Okay.
And that
Exactly.
seems to be difficult for people to understand. Yes, you can have a knife like Carmelo Anthony had. You just, as a student, cannot bring it on the campus because it is a violation of the school rules for a child to have a knife, because children are emotional. Number
Right.
two, children are insecure. Let me challenge you on this real quick.
Mhm.
If Carmelo Anthony was 6'8", 315 pounds, okay, could bench press a house, he could lift up a building. You think that 6'1", 210-pound Austin Metcalf and all his homies, right, would have intimidated him?
No.
No. And so what does that tell you? It tells you, and a person who is intimidated, or a person who is 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 afraid, that tells you that they are insecure.
Right.
Okay. He was not secure in his person, so he brought the dangerous weapon so that he
Right.
could even the odds. So he
Yep.
was insecure. That's what that tells you about Carmelo Anthony. He
Yep.
was insecure. Now the question we have to ask ourselves is, why are you insecure?
Right.
Why are you so insecure that you need to bring a knife? And that
Right.
goes back to something else you and I talked about, raising our children.
That's
You
right.
see, now
That's
you
right.
have boys, I have 3 boys.
Yep.
I've watched my children get beat up and suffer at jujitsu and
Mhm.
Shotokan. I seen my oldest son get beat up by a little girl one day. His first day,
Yeah.
she just choked him out. I like, son, that's sad for you. I'm glad you do something. Pinch her. At least pinch the little girl, a little Brazilian girl, just choke the shit. Choke. Excuse my language. This was the lead professor's daughter. Just choked. They choked him, and Scott, like, that's what, there you go. He learned a lesson. He learned he learned a hard lesson about women. Women can be strong too. Obviously, say, yeah.
Okay, we can.
And so, but the bottom line is they're not insecure now.
Right.
because they've been tested. See, it's one thing to talk to your sons about how they should handle themselves. It's another thing for them to come to that determination on their own. And let me tell
Absolutely.
you something that's very interesting. When you involve your boys, especially in martial arts, which is basically you just get straight to the point. Whether we're talking about boxing, martial arts,
Hmm.
karate, wrestling, jujitsu, they realize real quick what their limits are and what they can do. And they can pretty much, after thousands and thousands of sparring sessions and rolling matches and wrestling matches, they've realized pretty much who they can handle and who they can't.
Yeah.
And even if they realize that this person may have some advantages, there's some things I can do. And they already have played out the conflict or the fight in their mind, whether it's one person or three or four people. And they're like, I don't have anything to prove because I know I can beat this person.
Yeah.
Or I know I can give
Exactly.
them so much hell that they would ever want to fight me. So I can walk away and still have my ego not be bruised. See, a lot of these
Exactly.
young boys, they have, and I hate to say this, they don't want to take any L's. They don't want to be
Yep.
embarrassed. They don't want to get dirty. They don't want their hair to get messed up. They
Yep.
sound like little girls. You see what I mean? I'm just saying they have their
Scared of
mothers.
the rain.
Yeah, they have their mothers coping mechanism. Physical violence is so offensive to women. Oh my God, I can't believe she touched me. That's not how men work. Men
Yeah.
push each other and kick each other and beat each other. Men are horrible when women aren't around. We are horrible to each other. We laugh at each other when we get kicked in the balls. Men will laugh at you. Look at you.
Yes.
Let's be. You know what I mean? We're horrible to each other. We enjoy watching other men suffer and be in pain. That's why we like football. We like basketball when people get elbowed in the face.
You
We
gotta
like
get the
MMA.
competitive.
We like to watch other men suffer. I
Mhm.
hate to say it, but it's fun to us to watch other men fall out. Oh man, shattered your kneecap. Horrible for you. Next up. You see, and so when you have a boy who's so insecure that if you touch him, right, the only
Mhm.
people that agree with that are women and women-minded men. You understand
Exactly.
what I'm saying? I hate to say it
Exactly.
like that, and I don't want to
Yeah,
stereotype
you're
people,
right.
but the
I
truth
mean,
is, you gonna get touched. Guess where you
yeah.
getting touched? I bet he getting touched in prison right now. I bet they touching
Okay.
him now.
How you gonna
I,
handle
I bet he
that?
getting touched right now.
You
Is
gonna be
that a better
hiding underneath the
place?
bed 24
You
7. You
yeah, you don't like
you
being
ain't gonna
touched.
make
You getting touched now. Oh, you high tall, 5'7", 130 pounds. Yeah,
it.
you getting touched now.
Yeah, go in
So
there with
so
Debo and
so
them.
so was it worth it? You see what I
Exactly.
mean? It wasn't worth because you in there with some monsters now. They're gonna be in there forever, and you look
Yeah.
like fresh meat. And so, to
Yeah.
anybody out here who think that nobody needs to touch me, yeah, that you right. Maybe they shouldn't touch you, but nobody's saying you don't have a right to defend yourself. We saying you don't have a right to take somebody's life because they
Exactly.
touch you. Calm down. That's crazy to me. That's
Exactly.
crazy. And I said this
Exactly.
before. I tell my sons all the time, man. I'll support you in public, but damn, but I'm gonna cuss you clean out if you do something that's stupid
Exactly.
behind closed doors. I got to deal. I got to put the house up or come up with all this money, and I got to deal with this. And you've done this crazy thing, and you got my last name out there
Oh
and running
man.
it through the mud. You better Hey,
You
control
gotta
yourself.
calm down.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so Lady Luck, this is a tragic situation, but I hope the rest of the
Absolutely.
children in America
Yeah.
will learn a lesson. You need
Yep.
you got to control your emotions. You can't do anything you want to do because this generation is coming across some real. This is not the virtual world. You had your
Yeah.
face in
Real life.
TikTok for the past till you're an adult. This is the real world. In the real world, you have real consequences, and
Exactly.
there's no Superman coming to save you. You're not gonna win. We don't want to have people like that who are out there
Right.
cutting up and acting a fool like that. And again,
Exactly.
I understand the historical breakdown of race relations in the United States, but this was easy.
It
Okay,
was.
race
It's
is
straightforward.
yeah, race is always going to be an issue because you're
Yeah.
not going to stop people from feeling how they want to feel. I just don't care how you feel about me as long as I can go to my house, go to my bank, take care of my business, mind my business. That's why we have the law, so we can hold the
That's right.
line because we
That's
know how
right.
people are. People are going to be prejudiced,
Right.
whether you're a Mormon or a Muslim, whether you're a Christian or a Baptist or a Catholic. Somebody might not
Mm.
like you for your religion. Somebody might like you today because your haircut. But see, the thing is, if we
Right.
keep on living,
Yep.
see, this is what I've learned about being a black man, and I like this term. They call it foundational Black American because it's an ethnic group. It's a legal term. I like that. We can be American Negroes. If you want to go back to that, I don't really want to go back that far.
Nah,
But
foundational
it
black.
basically is
Okay.
saying the same thing. But what we have to do is we have to start. We've always made progress in this country, not by running away from people's stereotypes, but forcing them to have to change it. Like
Right.
Thurgood Marshall, he forced them
That's
with his
right.
brilliance as an attorney to have
That's
to
right.
change it. The things that your godmother did as a magistrate judge, her sitting up there dignified, giving out these great
Right.
orders, they forced them to have to change their stereotype. That's the way you deal
Right.
with stereotypes,
That's
not
right.
by loud talking people, but by saying,
That's right.
okay, you say we're not smart. Let me show you. Look at these scientific achievements that we have. You said we're not well spoken. Look at these well spoken, articulate professors that you had to learn from in your Ivy League university. That's how you change
That's right.
stereotypes. You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? Not by yelling and screaming and hitting out in the street, cutting up, acting a fool and burning things. That's not gonna work. That just
That's right.
enforces the stereotypes. But
That's right.
again, that's my position, and I know I'm sold out.
No,
I'm gonna tell
no,
you,
you
add
have
some
not
common
sold
sense.
out because I
Add
grew
some,
up
yeah.
being raised and taught like that. My dad taught
Hmm.
me, you know, when it comes down to how, especially how men perceive you when you're dating and all of that. This is what
Hmm.
men are expecting and looking for. My kids have a
Yeah.
father,
Hmm.
and I always tell them, you guys. And one thing I talked with their father with about is setting that example. We
Hmm.
have to be the example. We had to learn it. I'm not perfect as a parent, but if I want to teach my kids to maintain self control, I have to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And what I've been seeing on YouTube, and I tell my sons, both of them want to get into doing YouTube. And I'm like, listen, YouTube is not court, and court is not YouTube. So
Mm-mm.
all this stuff you do on YouTube, you would not be able to do this in the court of law. Those judges are not going to play that. So
No.
you get out here and you think that YouTube is the real world, you'll be in for a rude awakening. You have to understand what the difference and use wisdom in the information you put out, your interactions. You know, I say flat out to people, I'm so glad I'm apolitical. And not that I don't, believe in people voting or exercising any of their rights. I think people should go serve jury duty. You
Hmm.
want to keep the jury selection mixed up, you got to register to vote. That's how
Yeah.
that works. So
Yeah.
and go serve jury duty. So I'm like, it's just I don't want to get caught up in political lines because what we should be voting for are for people who align with our interests and who we feel will get the job done to help improve our quality of life as
Mhm.
constituents, as residents, as voters. And so, whether that is either a Democrat or Republican or independent or green tea or libertarian, whatever that is, whatever that translates out to be,
Mhm.
you vote for that person that is going to represent you well and
Right.
to help you, you know, to improve your quality of life. And it's that simple. When we my grandmother, God bless her soul, said, when you stand before God, He's not gonna ask you if you voted Democrat or Republican. He's not gonna ask that. God could care less about anybody voting for anything.
Yeah.
He's gonna judge your actions and judge your soul. And at the end of the day, politics aside, you know, He's gonna look at, okay, were you out here, you know, speaking the truth? Did you go out here and follow the word of God? Did you follow the law? Did you have respect and love for your brother? Those are the things that God will be looking at.
Yeah.
And it's a you got to be responsible with the information you put out. That's why I said flat out, I cannot support someone that chooses to go and murder someone. I've
Yeah.
told my kids, I've been taught, I love you. You're my children. I will always be there for you, but I will not sit and aid in your horrible bad behavior. I don't reward bad behavior. I'm not going to support you when you're wrong. My godmother told me flat out, if any one of y'all, my kids, go to jail or break the law, you on your own. Flat out.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
call me. She just retired last year, but I'm sitting on the bench and I'm looking forward to this retirement. It'll be a conflict and I'm not going to be bothered with it. I'm not putting my ethics, integrity, my career on the line because you went out and did something stupid. Don't don't call me.
Yeah.
Call an attorney. So these are the things that I will start growing up, and so all that entitlement that these kids nowadays feel they have to have, it's like we're living in a day and age where everybody has to know what's going on. We demand this We demand that. We, going out and the parents are the ones acting worse than the kids when it comes to, this case. And now we have the Nolan Wells situation. And I'm, of course, looking at that like, well, so these people who were running out here protesting and rooting and hollering and fighting in the streets and arguing with each other over Carmelo Anthony, where's that energy at for Nolan Wells? Because see what the law is going to do is going to have to fairly look at this case and examine the evidence of it. And if you don't want a killer walking away here, we don't want a killer or killers walking away here either. We want the killers in jail, period. Don't care if they're black or white. So now it's, and I always say, in the LLC, it is crucial to remain neutral when it comes to the law. You have to, because you don't want it to tip the scale when it's on the when the shoe's on the other foot, and we're wanting justice for a young black man that lost his life, by the hands of three white boys. If that happened, you don't want it to be a scenario where, well, we don't feel like it was fair because we can't decry racism in every situation. Just see what the evidence has, see what the law states, and then go from there. Let that be the premise to how you view these matters. Because if you just immediately look at it from a racial standpoint, you'll be doing that, and then you'll be upset because it won't go your way in any situation. Nothing will be good enough, because then it'll just come down to, everybody's racism. It's all racism. It's no. Carmelo Anthony did what he did intentionally, and he's in jail for this for 35 years. If Nolan Wells lost his life by the hands of three white boys, if they deserve to be in prison for 99 years and they get 35, would you be happy with that? Because you want to get Carmelo Anthony out, and he should be there probably for a lot longer than 35 years. So in any scenario, you start in this with racism, it's never going to be about justice. It's always going to be a decry of racism, all because some kids got out of control in either situation, and they could not behave and conduct themselves accordingly. And then we have this, oh man, people are becoming so much more desensitized to human life. We don't have a high regard for human life like we used to. And all of those things, it pulls down just boils down to a very toxic situation here, where we have young kids growing up just getting hot-headed on the smallest minute things, and they have no regard for human life. That's a dangerous recipe. So I always teach my kids, you gotta maintain a cool head. Sometimes walk away. My boys, they get up there, they still wrestle. And they're like 18 and 14. And all I hear, like, what y'all doing up there? They up there wrestling and all this stuff. And it's like, look, y'all give me a break. Before one of you all get tipped off and get mad for real, go to your rooms, go sit down and chill out. Sometimes give each other some space. Know when you're at a point where, Mom, I need a breather. I'm just gonna go to my room and sit in there for a few minutes. My brother making me mad. Okay. Learn how to walk away on your own, not me fussing at you and telling you to do it. Look at the situation and say, should I just get up and leave? Because I don't want any issues. Why couldn't Carmelo Anthony do that? Why couldn't he just get up and say, I don't want any issues. I'm straight A. I graduated next year. I'm going to school. I'm about to play D1 football at a college and getting a scholarship. Let me get up. You would have walked away with your liberty and freedom. Austin Metcalf would still be alive. And you would have still been able to accomplish everything you wanted to do in life. All because he chose not to walk away and then wanted to knuck if you buck. What's it going to get you knuck if you buck? Touch me and see what happens. Punch me, see what happens. Really? So you're inviting all this battery into your life? Why? Why does it have to go there? And that's the thing that we have to start teaching our kids. Why are you reacting this way? Why are you thinking that way? What makes you think that that was justified? Why couldn't he just get up and walk away? Why would Austin Metcalf have to call the police? We're talking about a 17-year-old kid that's about to go into adulthood and still somehow does not have the acuity to say, I might want to just get up and walk away from this situation. I'm gonna get up before I get mad. Whatever. But walk away. That one moment that he had to choose, he chose to pull out a knife out of a backpack, but not grab his backpack and get up and walk away.
That's a
There's a
good
big
point.
difference in that. So that's something and I teach my kids when it comes to handling yourself with law enforcement. Don't decide to knuck if you buck with that because you don't know what cop you're gonna get that's trigger happy, white or black.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They can just be trigger happy, probably failed their last mental health exam. Who knows? And you sitting up here bucking and snatching and doing all this stuff. Now getting hit with obstruction. Like, don't do that. Keep yourself calm and cool. You get pulled over. It's a traffic stop. Who knows? You might just get a warning, but stay level headed and drive away. That it, those are the things that need to be reiterated. Not seeing grown adults of these same kids out here boiling over because somebody stepped on their shoe. Now you got the adults out here fighting at a protest outside the courthouse. Why are y'all out here? Why didn't the police just remove them? Like, hey, out here fighting outside the courthouse. What are we doing? We're not savage, and we need to maintain civility. So those are just things that I know I taught my boys as their mother, and I rely on their father to teach them about manhood and being young men and conducting themselves like young men. Um, because I can't teach them how to be men. He will teach them that, but I teach them just understanding life and maintaining control and being self aware. And at the end of the day, you know, your grandmama over here who was a judge is gonna beat you behind, so you might want to get it together
Hmm.
because your grandparents gonna let you catch it. We're not having it. So um, I think my last question would be, if you were representing Carmelo Anthony, would you have gone for um, a plea deal um, as opposed to a full trial?
Well, I don't think they offered a plea deal, is my understanding. They wanted to put him in prison.
Okay.
So if the DA doesn't offer a plea deal, there's really nothing you can do about it other than try the case. They're not
Okay,
offering to
goes in
try to
there.
resolve it, but I would ask, I would of course ask if there would be overtures, but there's
Hmm.
nothing you can do. I mean, once you make the decision to bring a knife to campus and then you make the decision to use that knife on another person, your
Hmm.
life is in someone else's hands.
Right.
And so, it's just a horrible situation all the way around. The only reason we're talking about this was two reasons. Number one, because on paper, Carmelo Anthony, he had no criminal record, no previous issues. And so he was objectively a good student, a young man who stayed out of trouble, like millions of other young black, white, Asian students across America.
Hmm.
And that's heartbreaking. And the other reason is because the person that he killed was white. Had it been another black boy, I don't even think this would have made the morning paper.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
other than that, it's a very non-eventful stabbing on a school campus, and we had one just like it with Casey Allison and Joe Ramirez
Hmm.
a couple of years beforehand, and it's not made major news. The only issue is because it's black and white, and you have a lot of people who feed into that because it feeds a narrative of black and white, and creates controversy, and people make
Right.
money off of it because they get likes, shares, subscribers, etc. But
Right.
I appreciate the time being here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'd love to
Thank
come back
you.
sometime when you have more time.
Absolutely.
Up here blowing all this hot air into the I appreciate you. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I am going to end it out. So anytime you're more than welcome to come back. I saw you over there on Jay Witt
Oh yeah.
podcast, my
Yeah,
brother
yeah.
in Christ, my Morehouse brother.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
is He's a good guy. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited you getting out and getting on platforms where you can speak the truth. I saw you on Willie D Live and I was like, oh
Mhm.
Willie D.
Willie D's cool, man. Willie D did a great job advocating the position of so many black people. But it takes,
Yeah,
and I think that was probably one of the first times you've heard two black men from different perspectives
right.
talking about the same issue. And I think that's why it had so much traction because
Yeah.
typically you hear from the Willie D's and they speak from a very emotional historical standpoint, but you
Hmm.
don't hear from people like me who basically throw cold water, or as
Yeah.
I say, you throw that ice cold water and put some reality in it. But
Right.
I think it was good for the black community at large, and it was good for
Absolutely.
America to see that there are countervailing points, that you do
Mhm.
have educated, learned black people who are out there, but just they haven't really given us the microphone because I'm just a boring middle-aged man. Look at, I got the same blue sport coat
How
on,
you get that
same blue, same nothing, no frills, no, ain't nobody special on my broadcast. I ain't had Drake and nobody good. Okay? But
one?
thank you. But I'm glad that we getting, we're showing that there's a highly educated group of black people who want to
Absolutely.
make sure America remains on top and it's the best country to be. We love this country. We're patriotic. We're the only people who actually earned our citizenship because we were Americans before we were citizens. And it was that
Hmm.
14th Amendment that actually gave us the citizenship after years of war fighting, sacrifice,
Right.
free labor, etc. So and
That's
that
right.
and we should not let anybody steal that from us, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate Justice Clarence Thomas going into 77 pages of explanation of what our ancestors did because he
Right.
comes from that generation. Whether you agree with his opinions or not, bottom line is he did a great service for the Black American community or the foundational Black American community, the American Negro, if that's what you
Yeah.
prefer. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm cool with that. But thank you so much, Lady Luck
Thank
Club. I
you.
appreciate you for having me here.
All right. Thank you and have a good one. Take care of yourself and I'll let you down.
I appreciate it. All right.
All right. All right, y'all. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That was Attorney Dennis Spurling. Once again, if you are on YouTube, make sure you check out the Dennis Spurling podcast and follow him there, subscribe. Check out his great content. He has done some great debates as well. We will have people come up and ask questions. And I think that those debates are a great learning opportunity to be able to, if you do want to remain neutral and non-biased, to be able to hear from both perspectives, but at the end of the day it is the rule of law that should prevail. I believe that Carmelo Anthony got off light. That's my opinion on that, and I'm not changing it. But the reason why you don't sit and become racially motivated is because now we have Nolan Wells in that situation. And so, considering all of that, we want justice served on either end, whether the kids are black or white. We want justice served, period.